gonna go talk to a couple of my friends about plants that can survive really, really hot, dry temperatures and get a little bit of advice from them. And I'm gonna show you a few of the plants so that you have some ideas of stuff that can survive. So here we go. Gotta go find my friends. Okay, this is Maria. She is our resident plant expert. She's in charge of the flowers.
We're here.
Okay, so at this garden center, they sell a lot of native species. And in South Texas, where we live now, redbud is a Texas species, and they sell a lot of different kinds and varieties of redbud trees. There are some that are decorative. They don't get very big or very tall. There are some that get to be full-size giant trees. You could grow the smaller decorative varieties like the traveling redbud that kind of look like a Japanese tree, they kind of fall like this. They can be grown in pots because they don't get really huge. And I'll show you a few of the varieties that they sell here. Okay, so this is one of the beautiful varieties that have these sloping branches, and they change colors throughout the season. So in the summer they're green, in the fall they start to go kind of burgundy, they turn like a wine red, and then when the leaves fall off, these really cool arched stems are really dramatic and beautiful even without the leaves, and they do really well even in drought conditions. They will survive better if you put them in an area where they get a little bit of shade. Okay, so we've got some variegated ginger. In the winter, it dies back, so you want to cut it back because it'll turn brown and look kind of gross. But as soon as spring hits, it comes back again really, really fast. I'll show you some of that. Japanese yew are another variety of shrubs that actually can grow pretty tall. So they can do well for privacy, but they are super hardy for cold and for heat. Some Japanese Pittosporum, this is the variegated variety. I have these and they have survived through a horrible freeze and 2 horrible summers. Hardy. Sedum are great for ground cover, and there are lots and lots of varieties. They survive really well in heat, but this Japanese variety, which I think are really, really beautiful, they'll survive heat and cold. Loropetalum are great for color. They are also super hardy in heat and cold, and depending on how much sun they're getting and how hot or cold it is, they get really pretty, really beautiful colors, and there are several varieties. These are bottle brush, and they're great because they have a medium water requirement. They can survive heat and cold. They use them in Phoenix, they use them here, so a variety of climates. These are Abelia. These are kaleidoscope Abelia. And I don't know if you can see, but the butterflies are swarming around. Flax lily, you'll see these planted a lot in medians on streets. They survive very, very well in hot and cold climates. In the spring, they do have a white flower. These are different varieties of juniper. Super, super hardy, cold, dry. And if they're planted where they drain well, they'll do well with heavy rain. Sunshine ligustrum. They look really pretty with Loropetalum, with the purple flowers when they're planted together. And they have this bright, fantastic yellowy green all year round. Okay, so you guys have heard me talk about my Rangoon creeper inside my house. Well, this is what it's going to turn into. I wish you could smell these flowers. They are fantastic. Okay, drought tolerant. We've got agave, we've got yucca, we've got some cactuses. There's so many varieties and many of them have varying colors. And I did a video on flowering cactuses or cacti. So those are definitely plants to consider even if you don't live in a desert climate, but you live in a place that gets fairly hot like here in South Texas. There are lots of varieties of grasses that can also be used as ground cover. Remember, grasses spread, so be careful where you choose to plant them. But there are a large variety of those as well. Don't forget to consider planting in groupings in pots because you can create a dramatic impact without having to put stuff in the ground that you can easily replace if you choose annuals or bring inside, maybe not quite this large, but bring inside in the winter. Bougainvillea and Esperanza are great drought-tolerant plants. Okay, it is hot today. Don't forget these guys, these little gel-filled neck rings. They are a lifesaver. So I showed you a few plants that are drought and heat tolerant. There are also a few of those like the Japanese yew that are also cold tolerant. Things like the redbud trees, those are native to parts of Texas and Oklahoma. Some of them have interest even when the leaves fall off, like the wandering and trailing types. So they look good all year round because they have, interesting stems and whatnot, and they change colors throughout the seasons. And when it gets colder, I'll do a video on some of the cold tolerant plants. But for now, those are some of the things you could plant that will survive some of these extraordinary temperatures. We're at a garden center where they reduce the amount of plants they're taking care of through the worst parts of the summer, and they only keep those that they can keep alive and take good care of while those temperatures are skyrocketing during the summer. So when you're looking for things in your area, go to garden centers, try to find private garden centers like the one I was visiting, where they're not ordering massive amounts of plants. They're ordering just what they can take care of that they know will survive locally. And that'll give you an idea of what will probably work for you at your house too. Plus, most of the privately owned garden centers have people who are genuinely knowledgeable and really like what they're doing, and they're more than willing to share information with you. So I'm standing here at an intersection at a median, and I wanted to show you some of the plants that they are using. It'll help you figure out what you could potentially use yourself. These are the variegated ginger I showed you at the garden center. And the one thing I wanted to show you that they didn't have, I'm sorry about the noise, are drift roses. Things are exceptionally dry right now, and usually this whole intersection is filled with drift roses. Unfortunately, these are suffering, but this is some of that variegated flax lily also from the garden center that I showed you before. Okay, we've got vinca right here, society garlic, which have these beautiful purple flowers and smell yummy like something good to eat. Some loropetalum here in the back. And this median does have magnolia trees for shade. And the neighborhood is definitely watering them, which is why they look better. This is a ground cover. It's a type of jasmine. You can control it better than other ground covers. It grows out long, but you can trim them back really easily with a weed whacker. And In the spring, their leaves actually look like flowers with speckles of white and pink. This is late summer, so they're just green at this point. But you can see how they're controlling their spread really, really easily. And they are much hardier in heat and cold than other ground covers. These are my Japanese Pittosporum, and they get a little bit of shade, but really I very rarely water them because we are in a rainy climate. But I have to water them right now because it is so dry. But really, they've survived tremendous temperature and climate changes over the last, I guess they've been in for 5 years now. Very hardy. I personally hate sagos, but they are another one of those very, very hardy species that will survive a lot. If it gets really, really cold, the leaves will die, cut them off, and boom, new ones just start shooting back up. They are toxic to dogs, so choose where to plant them wisely. Mine are only in the front yard, and my dogs do not come out into the front yard unless they're on a leash and we're going for a walk. Crepe myrtle is another great variety. In the winter, they die back. You cut them back. In the spring, they come back really quickly with lots and lots of flowers. And in the summer, when you need shade the most, they're great because they do get really wide at the top and can help mitigate some of that excessive sun during this part of the year. It's August right now. Okay, so I'm back at the house. I am never going outside again, ever, never. But anyway, I hope that you guys found some of the plant varieties useful. If you're in the South, if you're in the Southwest, a lot of those plants might work for you. Once you get to the desert, a lot of that stuff will not do. But for most of zones 7 through 10, those plants are going to work pretty well that I showed you today at the garden center. If you see plants in the medians or even in your neighbor's yards and you don't know what they are and you're like, wow, those are doing pretty good, take a photograph of them and then go to your local garden center and show them the pictures, because usually they can identify them really quickly for you, and you'll be able to locate plants that you are seeing in your area that are doing well and try to use those instead of anything that didn't survive or just isn't doing well for you right now. So good luck with your gardening, and I will see you later.